Before we begin, thank you very much to Convoy the Size of TJ himself for pitching in over on Ko-fi. So, for your average viewer here, just still a little bit of weird TJOmega trivia. That would be a 5'7" convoy. That is admittedly overweight. So that's basically what you're dealing with as far as like a convoy the size of me. I have yet to find a convoy the size of me. I am sure there is one out there, but thank you very much for the contribution and finding another strange size of convoy in existence. So today was supposed to be we're going to be partnering with YOLO Park again for a review of their new Tarn figure. Go take a look tomorrow on the channel for that. But some things require priority here, okay? Some things just demand your attention. I had every one of my DMs and socials blown up very late yesterday because Toei announced something that's kind of earth-shattering for me. So, they did a whole website as kind of a viral teaser campaign about what the next Kamen Rider movie was going to be. And they gave you 11 movie titles complete with logos. And you can see them here on the screen. I have conveniently laid everything out for you. And some of these are actually like pretty fun. Like some of these are actually pretty good. So, I had this pulled up. Where's my tab for this? So the whole idea behind this was, let's just keep them guessing. So you have like Kamen Rider Ryuki Survive Grand Prix, Kamen Rider Kabuto Inheritor of Heaven, Den-O I'm Fired Up, Kamen Rider Decade Super Shocker Taisen, Gaim Niflheim War. So all of them are kind of like in the same naming scheme of the original series. So like the weirdest ones there is Kamen Rider Ghost, Anniversary, the first icon. I know there's some people who like the Ghost. That's nothing against you or anything like that. But we will acknowledge that Ghost is one of the less popular series. So the idea that it would get its own like big movie after the fact is kind of weird. Amazons. Whoever thought they would do a new Amazons anything? Psychic War. XA Divine Game, Build Be the 2. That name is hysterical. And Zeo Next New World. And then the one that we are talking about today, which was Agito Superpower War. Now, when you look at this, everyone was kind of figuring it was going to be Kabuto because they added the 20th anniversary to the fake logo. And that's actually not bad speculation, but really, like, I know I was just like shooting for the moon, hoping it would be an Agito project, because traditionally they don't really acknowledge Agito all that much. You know, they stick him in the background as far as like when there's big rider gatherings, he's usually behind. A lot of his rider collectibles tend to be Gashapon, Candy Toy, not DX. So I'm not used to Agito getting any kind of attention, but something about the fact that Agito's logo is so different from all the others. All the others have the symbols of the Rider series, or they have the font of the Rider series attached to it. But Agito's is vastly different than all the others. It doesn't look like his original logo at all. It's very stylized, and it kind of strikes the mood of an anniversary movie. So that's the one I guessed. Apparently, if you guessed right, you get entered into a contest to win a signed poster. Where's my poster? But yeah, obviously, because we're talking about it now, the winner was Agito Superpower War. Now, it's not that the others are like that they're just gonna like, obviously, like the trailer is already out. We're gonna be talking about it today. But obviously, like the other ones are not real. As far as we know, they are not happening. But this was actually a really clever way for Toei to gauge the interest in the others. So this makes sense for an anniversary movie because the 55th anniversary for Kamen Rider, it's the 25th anniversary for Agito, and Agito is what they are touting as the most seen Kamen Rider series ever. That is because if you look at television rating-wise, you see Agito the highest of any Kamen Rider series. You know, where these days a Rider show, or most shows in Japan really, are like somewhere in the 2s and 3s as far as rating share, Agito was at 11. That's not insignificant. That's huge. So yeah, like there's a lot of memories for Agito, and I mean, there's a legitimate claim to most watched Kamen Rider. So yeah, yes, obviously I'm excited. My favorite Rider series is getting new material and media. That is immediately intriguing. But if you know me, you know I have something we need to talk about. We need to get to that later, though. We need to talk about other stuff first. We need to talk about more stuff first. So, for starters, let's quick synopsis. There's text in the trailer that reads, "The moment power falls into humans' hands, they become monsters," which kind of relates back to a lot of Kamen Rider themes, but Agito as well. And then for the story, you see here, half frozen to death, half burnt to death. Two contradictory deaths were etched into a single corpse, an impossible crime beyond comprehension no one has ever seen. That is the theme of Kamen Rider Agito, is they had deaths that were impossible. People in the middle of a concrete park drowning. People dying while stuck in trees that were still completely solid. They showed some pretty brutal stuff, honestly. Like, there's actually some really brutal stuff in Agito. They did not pull punches or just act like everyone in the audience were kids, even though they were. They took it seriously. The Metropolitan Police Department Special Armed Unit for Unidentified Life Forms, commonly known as the G Unit, moved in to solve the case, but the man who should have stood at the forefront, Makoto Hikawa, was nowhere to be seen. The one we need most is Makoto Hikawa. Fate begins to stir, and quietly, a new evolution was about to begin. It's fascinating to me that the story is focusing on Hikawa, because low-key, he is kind of the best thing that's in Kamen Rider Agito storyline-wise. Not going to deny that, much as I love the other characters and cast. G3 is a standout character. He's really, really strong character, especially if you like, just like, stories of human determination and will. That's what G3 is. He was a character who could not even come close to Agito in power when he started, but then caught up with his new equipment and kept up even though his equipment should not have been able to. Just through sheer determination and willpower, managed to not only keep up with the group, but stand beside Agito and Gills as an equal when it came time for the final showdown. It's a really cool story, and it's a really cool character. So I'm fascinated by the fact that he's going to be the lead as far as this seems. There's a little bit more here if we go over to the synopsis. A world where people began awakening to superpowers, one after another. Those who wield their powers recklessly emerged, plunging the city into chaos. Amidst this turmoil, one police officer stood against them, Makoto Hikawa. He possesses no special powers, but he's an honest, clumsy man who believes in justice more straightforwardly than anyone. The rampage of those with power and then the resolve of those without. The ultimate drama and superpower action is born here, where human evolution and conviction collide. This touches back on the evolution gimmick of Kamen Rider Agito. So I'm glad that those tropes are back, that the story focuses on evolution of humanity, that the story focuses on impossible crimes. It's good to see that they didn't soften that just because Kamen Riders changed so much. It feels like what they did in the original, which is good. Now, staff-wise, the big thing to take away through all of this is the screenplay. Toshiki Inoue is someone I have a very love-hate relationship with. Inoue, for years, was considered the fixer for Kamen Rider. If Toei did not like the direction of a series, if the ratings were slumping, if the writers or they're going over budget or not getting the production out fast enough, Inoue was brought in to substitute and start writing things a lot quicker. Now, that's a talent, but also he tends to write the same tropes. In particular, he has characters misunderstand each other a lot for the sake of making them battle. Things like that. you start noticing his particular flavor. He's produced some of my least favorite things. He's the reason why Hibiki's back third feels more like a standard Kamen Rider show than like the uniqueness they had built up before then. The second half of Kamen Rider Decade, where it just became just fan service with no direction and the characters no longer had like an ongoing story. The O's movie, like the original O's movie, that one was his work, and that one was not great. Basically, to me, Inoue has always felt like a writer who had two good stories in him. One of them was Agito, and the other one was Jetman, who the old school Sentai fans will tell you is the best Super Sentai series. So, when it comes to Agito, this is his work. In my humble opinion, it's his masterpiece. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine seeing him back here. It's actually good to see him back for this particular project. We'll take a look at how Hikawa looks in the movie now. He actually looks pretty good. Actually looks pretty good. For 25 years on, like, yeah, like he's still got a good look to him. I can still recognize him. I can see like the determination in him. That's all good. He looks like a leading man. I give him all the credit in the world. It's going to be cool to see him suit up again, but right now, yeah, I completely buy this. I completely believe this as the lead character. We've seen Soichi's actor in ZO, and I will admit he looked a little out of place. Obviously not as vibrant as he was when, you know, Agito was brand new. He was much younger, but I don't know. Like, I feel like this is more like a convenience. I feel like Hikawa's actor was more available, thus he gets the nod. But as we've seen here with the cast list, we are getting the original back. Toshiki Kashu is coming back to reprise his role as Soichi, which is great to see. Also coming back, Hojo. Now, if you haven't seen Agito, Hojo is like the ultimate hater. He's not silly the way Narutaki is. He's just a jackass who really, really has a superiority complex. He is one of the best non-monster antagonists in Kamen Rider. He just is. He is just a profound bastard of a character. The fact that he's coming back is fascinating. Ozawa is coming back. So that was the woman who was in charge of G3's deployment. She just came back in the Kamen Rider Ainz movie. And that movie, the online special. That already told me that the Agito movie was likely to be printed. They announced that before this vote happened. And you'd think, well, that's a weird pull to bring in. Turns out she was apparently shooting at the same time. So this is apparent. So like she was just available. So they kind of threw her in. If you see the Kamen Rider Ainz special, she's more like a cameo than anything. She just kind of shows up at the end to add a little bit more to the story. Yeah, this is actually really cool. This is really, really cool they got her. I will admit, she's not aged well, but it's great to see her back. We have Misugi back. We have Kazuya's back. Misugi is back. So these are Mana's back. Taichi's back. Yoshihiko. Okay, let me read this correctly. So, Yoshihiko, if I remember right, it's like, I believe that's Taichi's the kid. So Yoshihiko was the dad. Then you have Mana. That was like the lead female, who also has a seed of Agito, by the way. So who knows what Mana's doing with 25 years worth of evolution. Taichi was the kid who would now be a full adult. Kind of fascinating to see him back. Kino's the weird one. Kino is very definitively dead. He even appeared in Kamen Rider special all about dead riders. Seeing him back is going to be super weird. Yeah, but it's fascinating. It's fascinating. So, again, we'll focus on some of the visuals from the trailer. There we have someone who's both frozen and burned at the same time. Impossible murders. Again. But this is different. So this doesn't seem like your typical plot by an unknown, a lord, even overlord. You'll notice that overlord, like the lead villain in Agito, he's not mentioned. You know, like the villain in Agito is literally God, but his actor is not on the list unless he's like a special appearance thing. But yeah, we still see like the MO of the unknown with the impossible crimes, but we also know that there are these people gaining superpowers. And you see a bunch throughout the trailer, like there's someone's fingers that are turning into like liquid metal, very T-1000. You have this woman who can levitate people off the ground and then drop them. You've got someone throwing lightning. And that's the crazy thing, is like the one throwing lightning can actually stand up to G3 and G3X. So that's not just like, oh, I can throw like a little bit of static. No, they're getting really powerful abilities. They're getting some really strong stuff here. Also, kind of fascinating that G3 and G3X seem to be like typical like police equipment in this universe now. So a few people seem to be using it. That's going to be cool. I'm genuinely curious if any of the past characters ended up in that suit. Is that where the kid ended up? Did he go on to become a G3? Would have been neat. Would have been neat. But if you've watched this channel for any length of time, if you've heard me talk about Kamen Rider Agito before, if you know me in any way, what we have to talk about is the poster and the subsequent elements of the trailer. If you are here because you just want to hear somebody talk about the brand new Kamen Rider Agito movie that was announced, because it's super exciting, especially if you are a fan of the old school like show, Heisei era stuff. I call Kamen Rider Agito my favorite series of all time. I loved the mystery, I loved the characters, but more than anything, in Kamen Rider Agito, I loved Gills. Gills is my absolute favorite Kamen Rider. You scan my shelves, you're going to find more Gills than just about anything. I've got his SIC, I've got his little minifigures, I've got his figure arts, I've got the Gills Raider, I've got his belt. And as we speak, I am currently 3D printing a helmet for Kamen Rider Gills. What happened? Now, let's get the two obvious things out of the way. Number one, the original suit was heavily damaged by water. Turns out they probably shouldn't have had shot so many scenes in the water with this suit. But also the helmet's jaw mechanism from has just worn out from overuse. So the whole suit was a mess. They can't reuse the original Gills suit. There is a suit that exists now, but it's only a stage show suit, and it doesn't look nearly as good up close on camera as the original. So they cannot use it for filming. That's really unfortunate. Now, this does have budget. They could remake the suit, but here's the problem. Number two, the original actor for Kamen Rider Gills is kind of a horrible person. So he retired from acting in disgrace because he was accused of cheating. He was accused of what else? He's accused of domestic violence. He was accused of theft. These days, he's a restaurant manager. Last I checked up on him. So Toei ain't gonna touch him, and he ain't gonna come back because that would taint the entire thing. So I can't have the original Gills back. So it seems as though Toei's idea here is to make Gills a major part of the plot, but also incorporate the fact that his suit is dead. So here's what he looks like in the movie. You see a lot of that head is gone. Now it's important to remember, Gills is an organic rider. He does not form a suit over his human body. His human body becomes Gills. So this means he's probably dead. They probably killed Gills off. Granted, he's died a couple times in the show before and actually came back to life, but I'm not foreseeing that happening at the moment. Now, the fact that his intact eye, it still has a bit of a glow to it, there might be some light behind him causing that, or it might be intentional cinematography to show that there is an aspect of him that is still alive. But my current speculation is that the whole run of people gaining superpowers is somehow related to the fact that Gills is still alive. So they might actually be using his cells and their unique traits to grant people these superpowers, which would be really, really messed up. I'm just like fingers crossed here, hoping like there's something they can pull from this. Like he's not really dead; he can regenerate from something. We recast the actor, so we can just regenerate him like a doctor, like a Doctor Who, like and then Gills will be played by David Tennant, and everything will be great. I can't imagine doing an anniversary movie and then not having all three of the writers together. Like this hurts me. This hurts me a lot. What did they do to my favorite writer? He's been ignored for so long. So many team ups with secondary writers. So many opportunities they could have brought him back. And nope. Didn't bring him back in a decade. Didn't bring him back in CO. Didn't do anything with him. Didn't touch him. Don't even mention him. He appears vaguely in CGI in one movie 15 years ago. And that's it. So my boy might just be dead. I might have to. So you asked me, like, yes, I'm excited for an Agito movie, but also my favorite character is probably dead. A little bit here more. New Kamen Rider Agito movie is coming to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Kamen Rider Agito, the most watched Heisei's Kamen Rider series ever, and the 55th anniversary of Kamen Rider. Brand new stories about to begin. A world where yeah. Releasing in Japan on April 29th, 2026. Overseas release info coming soon. That's the most important thing here, is that it's getting a Western release, which is kind of crazy for a Kamen Rider Agito project. There's no Western presence for Agito except for an incredibly, incredibly bad subtitle job from Toku HD, who probably just threw that stuff together with primitive AI just to undercut Shout Factory. That's how that went. Now, I know this video is long. When it comes to Kamen Rider Agito, I have a lot to say. I have a lot of opinions. Look at how long this is. I've gotten, so far, over 20 minutes of content out of a 30-second trailer and just the info around it. So now we have the last thing to do, which is wild speculation. So with a lot of these anniversary movies, we see them coming up with brand new forms. Kamen Rider Decade comes back, he gets the ridiculous complete 21. He looks like the guy at the TCG shop coming in to show off all of his slabbed Pokemon cards. You have Fies just got a revival movie where, like, we had Next Fies as a brand new form. I didn't like the look of the new form, but hey, I acknowledge it was good for them to give it. So now it's a speculation of, what are they going to do? Because Kamen Rider Agito is a series based on evolution. Soichi's powers have had 25 years to evolve and become more powerful, on top of technological advancements for the police force. This has a lot of room for expansion. And also, Toei's not going to miss the chance to come up with new toys to sell. Now, the fear in me is that the only new form we're going to see is the Red Agito they just announced the figure arts of. For those wondering why they tried to make an Agito look like Kuga, it's because in the tapestry that shows the plot of Kamen Rider Agito, that being Agito and a blue rider, presumably G3, in an ancient setting, leading people away from a boat. That's the whole plot in Agito. Yeah, so they might just be using it to push that. And the red Agito might just appear in the movie. That would be incredibly lame. You have so many other possibilities we could go with. Like I said, Agito's powers continuously evolve. Like, that was his whole thing. So, Shining form I like, but it never really struck me as a powerful ultimate form the way, like, Ultimate Kuga does. And even a few years later, we had Blade King that does feel like a really powerful ultimate form. I'd even say, like, Survive and Blaster do not, for Ryuki and Fies, do not feel like final forms, like the way we expect them to feel. So I wouldn't mind them doing something new with that. I wouldn't mind seeing like a further evolution of Agito and have like a really cool looking ultimate form. G3 probably has the most that they could do. Obviously, if Hikawa's coming back and other people are using the G3X suit, he doesn't really need to use it himself. So what does he use instead? So you can do, you can't do G4, because that's the evil armor from the movie. You can do G5. You can have Kamen Rider G5 appear. You could do G3X. You could do, remember, the theme in Kamen Rider Agito is Omega. You could do G3 Omega. Like once Agito vanished, they created an Omega system for G3. All I ask, when Hikawa steps on the battlefield, it's been 25 years. We don't need a whole semi-truck to get him into his armor. We don't need that. The man has more than earned the right to shout Henshin. Just give him a fancy belt, let him plug a battery into it, and shout the catchphrase. The man's earned it. We've had plenty of tech writers who work exactly the same way. We have 01. Like, if he can do it with a little, progrise key, this guy gets to do a Kamen Rider Henshin now. Please. That's all I ask of it. Do whatever you want to Hikawa. Just let the man Henshin properly. And then you get to my boy. So, presuming there is a way to bring him back to life, presuming that this is not a completely dead Gills and we actually do figure out some way of having him back. New actor, Ryo's son. It's been 25 years. He's had time to get a kid out. There are ways. There are ways to bring back Gills. It's just a matter of the writing. And like I said, it'd be weird not to have the three together again for the anniversary movie. That said, what do you do with him? Well, for me, the one thing I've always wanted to see. The thing with Gills is he looks different from Agito, even though he does have a seed of Agito in him. He technically has two. The thing with him is he's imperfect. He's always been described as an imperfect Agito. So what happens if he's perfected? What if this, this like half dismembered and decapitated Gills turns out to be regenerative into like a perfected form? So then you have something like this, where it's Gills perfected. So this was done by Villain Blackwing over on DeviantArt. And yeah, it's kind of pretty. It's kind of pretty. I don't think I make it look this close to Agito. I think some like the forearms and the shin armor should probably be a little bit different to better match the original Gills design, but it's in the right direction. I think it would be really, really cool to see like what a flawless Gills would look like. That leads you to a dozen other directions. You imagine they cast like a young 20-something to be like the son of Ryo, and they just give him this kind of suit and go like, well, we're gonna do like Kamen Rider, like, like new Gills, Shin Gills, Gills 2. I don't know what you'd call them, but you have room to actually expand on that universe with a new, fresh actor as a hero. Just me throwing the idea out there, just hoping for another round of Agito anything after this. But yeah, that's basically the whole thoughts. Like I said, based on preliminary material, announcements, actors, and 30 seconds of a trailer, I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of like things boiling in my brain, but it's also just screaming, what did you do to my favorite writer? What are you doing to my favorite writer? I understand it's like the worst situation to bring a character back. I understand it's the worst situation for bringing a character back, but there are ways. I just want them to find a way, please. But that's it. I'm talking way too long. Did not mean to make this a half hour. I apologize. Thanks for sticking out for it. And that'll be it for me tonight. So thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time. Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.